Stanley Lee has died. And that is sad because Stanley Lee is probably the most importantest person to ever work in comic books. And people often take for granted all the amazing things that Stanley Lee created. Like, for example, he invented drawing and petrol. But this isn't gonna be a mopey, sad little video about the passing of a legend. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at all the great things that Stanley Lee has left behind, starting with the Fantastic Force. He co-created the Fantastic Force with a little fella called Jack Quimby. And the thing is, the Fantastic Force, it was actually the first ever Marvel comic ever published ever. I mean, not on paper, the company had been publishing comics for 20 years before it, but it was the first ever Marvel comic ever published ever. And this is Fantastic Force issue number 1 by Stanley Lee and Jack Quimby, and it is the first appearance of them, and they're all there. There's the Thing, there's the Human Fire, there's Mr. Fantasticals, and look, there's even the Invisible Wife, even she's there. And this is the origin story that we all know. They went up on a rocket and they got magic powers, and what follows is a bunch of stories that are considered absolute classics, like the first appearance of the Skrulls, or the first ever appearance of Mr. Doom, and this was kind of like really innovative superhero books. Like, it kind of set the standard and the tone for everything else and everything that followed. And most people would agree that the high point of the Stanley Lee, Jack Quimby Fantastic Force was a story called The Coming of Galactus Man. And that's the Fantastic Force again, if you've already forgotten what they look like. And this fella, this big fella, that is Galactus Man. And he wants to eat the planet Earth. It's kind of like when someone says, "Oh, I am so hungry, I could eat a horse." Well, Galactus Man, he's so hungry, he could eat a planet. And this is Galactus Man's butler, the Silver Surfer. And I'm going to say, actually, the Silver Surfer might actually be one of Stanley Lee's best characters. And this book is filled with loads of the classics. This is something else Stanley Lee did that is important. He did loads of little crossovers. He made a shared universe. Like, this is an issue of Fantastic Force. But look, there is Iron Man, there is Spider-Man, there is Captain America, there is Thor, well, he's in the Fantastic Force, that isn't that surprising. But there is Spider-Man, there's Iron Man, there's Captain America, there's Thor, there's Iron Man. So it was really good. He really made a sense of a shared universe, and they would drop in from different comic to different comic. The ideas in this are really high concept and big. Like, there's a secret race of aliens living on Earth called the Unhumans. It's just really inventive stuff. And then we eventually get to the coming of Galactus Man. And what happens is, it starts off, and what happens is a big baby in a nappy shows up, and he goes, "You better be careful, because Galactus Man, he is coming and he is hungry and he's going to eat your planet." And the Fantastic Force are really worried about that. They're like, "Oh, what are we going to do?" And there's the Silver Surfer. This is his first ever appearance. All these things were created by Stanley Lee and Jack Quimby. And they're thinking about what they're going to do. There's the Skrulls again. They're thinking about what they're going to do about Galactus Man, and the Invisible Wife. She's probably thinking, well, maybe I could just make him a big cake, and that'll fill him up. But what happens in the end is Galactus Man, he does actually show up, and he's like, "I'm going to eat your planet now." And then he has a big fight with the baby in a nappy, and the Fantastic Force, they're trying to fight Galactus Man. But he's so big and hungry that it's not doing anything. So what happens is, they go into outer space, and this is something that really, really annoys me. People always forget that Stanley Lee invented outer space. Before this, we all just thought it was Earth and there was nothing else out there. But Stanley Lee, in this comic, he said, yes, there is space out there. And look at everything that has copied space. Like, you've got Star Wars, you've got Star Trek, you've got Stargate, you've got Star Fox, you've got loads of stuff with space, and none of them credit Stanley Lee. But what happens is they get this magic little trigger thing, and they're pointing at Galactus Man, and they're all like, you are not going to eat our planet, why don't you not just fuck off? So Galactus Man, he gets fed up and he's like, I am gonna go, I'm fed up with this. And the Silver Surfer Man, when he was on Earth, he discovered like compassion, and he felt sorry for the humans. And it's a really classic story, this one. And if you like stuff like this, then I also recommend 4 by Stanley Lee and Jack Quimby, because this is full of ideas like that as well. There's 4 there, and there's loads of stuff in this. Like, there's Tom Hiddleston as Loki, and this fella, he is called Gokman. He is like Gokwan's father, and he's really cool. He needs a dentist though, look at them teeth. But my favourite part of this is when Thor, he goes into space, and there's this living planet that eats other planets. There it is, the living planet. And I think it says something that Stanley Lee and Jack Quimby, they must have been starving all the time, because all the baddies that want to eat planets. And there's Galactus Man. Like I said, it is a crossover thing. He brought Galactus Man into this. And there's some really trippy art there. That's a living planet again. And it's really good, this one. It's one of the best. There's Thor's hammer there. Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. Of course, they changed this because it said he, and they thought that was sexist. And this is a really good one. It's just Thor and C-3PO. People forget Stanley Lee invented him. They're just in space, and it's a living planet. It's really good, this one. I recommend it a lot. Similarly, if you like that, how about Doctor Strange by Stanley Lee and Scott Ditko Man? This one, well, the problem is, it doesn't look like Benedict Cumberbatch, but it is a good story. There's Doctor Strange, and there is that's like his Casper there, and this is full of loads of those trippy things as well. Like, there's the evil Nightmare Man, and Doctor Strange, he goes to all sorts of weird, like, drug trippy dimensions and things. And there's Dormammu, this big fireman, and oh, it's really high concept. One of my favourite bits is the bit where there is eternity. Like, there's some of like the magical dimensions and stuff. I think that this Scott Ditko Man was probably high on the cannabis. And what I was looking for, oh yeah, the bit with eternity. That is my favourite bit, because Doctor Strange, he goes to this weird dimension thing, and he finds a living embodiment of all space and time called eternity. And I think it's near the end, actually. The end at last. So this must be near the end. There is eternity there, the living embodiment of all space and time, and he is fighting Dormammu. And there's some bonuses at the end. There's eternity again. This is really good. I recommend you read this one as well. But it's not just that. Don't forget, Stanley Lee also invented Spider-Man with Steve Ditko Man. He is Scott Ditko Man's brother. Don't confuse the two. It's very simple. It isn't the case that I simply forgot that I called him Scott the first time, and then said Steve this time. Spider-Man, right, you might not know who he is. He's not that major a character, but that's him there. That's Peter Parker. He's just like a little millhouse at school, and all the bullies are like, Peter Parker, more like Peter Park less. And he's like really sad about it. But what happens is, one day he gets bit by a spider, and then he becomes a Spider-Man, and he tries to become a wrestler, but he gets bored of that, and then his uncle dies, and then he's all sad and stuff, and it's like, oh, with great power comes great Spider-Man. And look, that is Stanley Lee. He does little cameos in things all the time, doesn't he? That's Stanley Lee there. And this is really good stuff. There's a crossover there with the Fantastic Four. You get loads of ideas in this, loads of stuff that you remember from Spider-Man. Like, there's Michael Keaton, Stanley Lee and Steve Ditko Man invented him, and there's an old man, Stanley Lee invented them. There's Dan Slott back when he was a character, a little guest star before he became a writer. That's him there. And there's the Human Fire from the Fantastic Force. Really good stuff, this. There's the Reptile when he's human. There's Michael Keaton again. There's Elektra. There's Elektra again. Just really, really good. Loads of stuff in here. There's Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. He invented it. And look, the Hulk's even in this one. So... there's one of his main villains, or one of Stanley Lee's biggest creations, the Ring Man. Really, really cool villain. That it's like him and Thanius. They're the big ones of the Marvel universe. And here's some more. There's a woman, very pretty woman. People forget that Stanley Lee invented really pretty women. And there's Michael Keaton again. And there's that fella from that cancelled sitcom with Grace from Will and Grace. And there's the Scorpion Man. So much in this. There's so much in this that there's actually a second volume. And there's the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn again. And this is just filled with things as well. There's a Reptile. There's Michael Keaton again. There's the Kingpin. There's a Letter Page. There's the annoying one. There she is again. This one's in black and white. They forgot to colour it in. In Stanley Lee's defence, he was a very busy man, so he probably just forgot to colour it in. There's Michael Keaton again. He's in it a lot, isn't he? And there's Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. And this is when they're unmasked. They get unmasked. He unmasks, and it is Norman Osborn. And oh, that is trippy, isn't it? Look at that. It's like Spider-Man. Spider-Man's taking Scott Ditko Man's drugs. And oh, it's just really good, this one. Spider-Man versus the Green Goblin. Like, there he unmasks and he's like, oh, you are my dad's friend. What's that all about? And, like, he's having a breakdown. He's like, what the hell? Oh, me head. And Spider-Man, he takes him to the hospital. He's like, oh, I'm going to help you, even though you're my enemy. And look, it's kind of like a happy ending, except not really, because the Norman Osborn's in hospital, but he goes off with these women. I think that's Mary Jane, probably. The prettier of the two. She's an absolute dog, if you ask me. And then we end. No, I'm not reading another trippy one. It hurt me head. And the thing is, Stanley Lee, he wrote a lot. He was really prolific, and a lot of people say of some of the stuff that his heart wasn't in it, that it wasn't very good. Like, for example, The Excellent Men. And don't be put off by the horrible Alex Ross cover, because that is just the cover. But the thing is, even Stanley Lee, I don't think he was that into The Excellent Men. He stopped writing it issue number 19. And the thing is, though, he created so much of what you know about The Excellent Men. Like, there's Dr. X, there's Snowman, back when he was a fully fledged character, before he was reduced to just being a stereotype. And he also invented my favourite one, Cyclist. And not only that, he also created one of my favourite villains of all time, Dr. Magnet's really good villain. Unfortunately, though, he did create the worst character in the entire Excellent Men franchise. Stupid whore there. Hate her. Basically ruined the whole thing. Everything's got to revolve around her. So absolutely terrible. But so much good things in this still. Loads of creative ideas. And another one that people criticise a lot is The Avengers. Stanley Lee created The Avengers, and the thing is, I'll admit, it's not consistent, but there's some really good stuff in this. Like, I'm going to highlight 3 issues in particular. The first one is Avengers issue number 4. And this is the issue that introduced Captain America, the best superhero of all time ever, onto the Avengers. And look, there is Seaman there. He's like banging on the door going, let me out, let me out. And this one, it's like in the film. It's like just like in the film. The Avengers, they're flying around on a plane and they find a body in the ice. And the body in the ice is Captain America, the best superhero ever. And they're all like, wow, look, it is Captain America. And Captain America wakes up and he's like, whoa, where am I? And they're like, we found you on the ice, you were frozen. You're like you're missing 20 years. And then he joins the Avengers, and that is good. This is what like brought Captain America back, because he was like a World War I character created in the 1890s, and this was in the 1940s. So they brought him back in this, like made him popular again. The other ones I want to look at is, oh, I forgot, haven't mentioned Amanda the Enchanter yet. She is gorgeous. Stanley Lee created her, and she is absolutely the best. Oh, she's so great. I love her. The other one I want to talk about is this one here. Oh, there's Amanda the Enchanter again, looking gorgeous there. If people were to list the top 100 Stanley Lee characters, they'd probably forget Amanda the Enchanter, but she's so pretty, she deserves to be like number 7 or something. Like, I really, really like her. I think she should be in more books. She's gorgeous. Fancy her a lot. The first one I want to look at is Avengers issue number 8. This one introduces Kang the Conqueror, and this is before Kurt Busiek absolutely butchered the character. And what happens in this one, Kang, he arrives and he's like, oh, if I can defeat the Avengers, then I rule the world. And look, he's on an invisible seat, and that is just like one picture there. That's just a little idea they threw in. They don't do any more with it. That's how creative Stanley Lee was. He would just be like, yeah, give an invisible chair, don't mention it again. And Kang, he defeats the Avengers. But, right, one thing people say a lot is these old comics, they're sexist, they're misogynistic, stuff like that. But I think this story proves them wrong, because Kang, he doesn't bother with the Wasp because she is a woman, and Dickie Jones because he has no powers. And the thing is, this story, because they were overlooked, it is their story. They turn out to be the heroes. They save the day. It's like, if you thought they were worthless, then they're not, because they save the day. Like, there's the Wasp saving the day, and there's Dickie Jones saving the day. And I mean, ultimately, the men do the job, but they wouldn't have been able to if it wasn't for the woman and the powerless man. And that is a good little issue, this one. It's kind of the first appearance of Kang, because he appeared in a Fantastic Four issue, but not as Kang. And then the other one I want to talk about is Avengers issue number 9, the first appearance of Wonder Man, which was Wonder Woman transitioning into being a man. And that is really ahead of its time. Like, people, like, it's so insane to think that in 1965, Stanley Lee thought outside the box and went, let's have Wonder Woman, one of the most popular female superheroes of all time. Let's have her transition into being a man. And this is a really good story as well. There's Count Zero from the Thunderbolts, and there's Amanda the Enchanter again. She should be in all the comics, and she is in a lot of these ones, so that's why they're much better than people say they are. And look, like, she's not even wearing a costume there, and she's so pretty. The story is that they help Wonder Woman transition into being a man, and Wonder Woman has to repay by joining the Avengers and spying on them. But it's got this classic ending where Wonder Man turns on the villains because he has come to sympathize with the heroes, and it's quite tragic. He dies, but he dies a hero, and this is a great little story. And there's Amanda the Enchanter running away, and it's just really good, this. And the rest of it, there's some alright stuff. There's Kang again, there's Count Zero again, Hawkeye from MASH, he goes on to join the Avengers. I've forgotten the Excellent Men. Stanley Lee invented Scarlet Witch and the Flash, and then they appeared in the Avengers. Yeah, it's sad that Stanley Lee has died, because he really was a great inventor of things. Like, so much things that I can't sum them all up in a video. So I'm just going to say, I hope Stan Lee rests in peace.